All we can absolutely say about ourselves for certain is that we are aware. That's all we can really say for certain. And within that all-encompassing awareness, which can be considered a peer view, and that it is all-encompassing and includes and contains everything, within that totally clear peer view of awareness are included and contained all points of view. And all points of view, and points of view is another term for appearances or phenomena or thoughts, emotions, and experiences. All of those that appear are points of view of that awareness. In other words, they're just points of clear awareness and nothing else. And when they appear, most of us have been trained to hold to those points of view and take them to have an independent existence or independent identity, whether it's the point of view of being an individual, in other words, a personal identity, or any other point of view that's associated with that personal identity. And when we tense and hold to those points of view, all that's happening is that we have a free-flowing choice of how we use our awareness. As human beings, we have a choice of how we use our awareness. And it isn't even important to know who has the choice or why we have the choice. Those are questions a journalist would ask. And we all see what journalists have made of the world. Most journalists have made of the world. So we don't really even need to know the answers to those questions. All we need to know is that this simple process occurs, that there is awareness, and it either holds to points of view that appear, and when it holds to a point of view that appears, it discriminates about that point of view. In other words, it decides that the point of view is positive or negative, or that it is something to indulge or renounce. And in doing so, it throws us into a belief in a world of points of view in which all points of view have an independent existence of some kind, whether they're positive or negative. And we spend our entire life discriminating whether or not everything we see is positive or negative. When we elect to do so, that's just a simple choice we have. We can spend our life lost in the illusion that all points of view have an independent existence other than awareness, or we can just relax the hold on points of view, completely relax the hold on points of view. And that's what it means to let point of view be as it is. It means we just relax the belief, whatever it is that we've been believing in. And for many of us, we have so many beliefs and so many points of view that when we just relax the belief in one point of view and let that point of view be as it is, it holds up, it frees up our need to hold to other points of view. So it isn't that this is one point of view at a time we're addressing. When we realize that any point of view does not have an independent nature, in meaning that it does not have an independent nature, the meaning is that the nature of the point of view itself is not independent of awareness. So the point of view itself has no independent existence, no independent identity, no substance or characteristics of its own. Everything that appears, it has no substance or characteristics of its own. It has no independent nature. It is not substantial in its own right. When we believe that everything is substantial in its own right, then we believe in everything we see as though it is independent and that it's something to accept or reject. And if it's something we want to reject, it's something we want to get rid of. And if it's something we accept, we want to hold on to that. So all of our life, we spend trying to hold on to certain points of view and get rid of other points of view. But neither of these is possible. It's impossible to hold to the ones we like And it's impossible to get rid of all the negative points of view that we don't like. So we expend our entire life energy over the course of our entire lifetime trying to hold on to what we can never hold on to and trying to get rid of what we can't get rid of. So what to do? What to do about this? Just relax. Just relax. And all of the labels that are attributed to all of the different points of view, they're just as empty as the point of view itself. They describe what has no substance and characteristics of its own. And if we want to make sense of our own inner life or the world we live in, the best way to go about that is to just relax and no longer hold to all the points of view that have been conventionally described as being something. And what happens when we do so is that rather than relying on all the words in the dictionary to form meaning out of our lives, we begin to rely on wisdom, the wisdom of awareness that is the basis of all appearances. So in that, then, we can begin to clearly see through points of view. We can begin to cut through points of view. We can begin to see these points of view as they are, that even though they have conventionally described something to us, that this is something we have just learned. It doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's the true nature of reality. Now, some of us are more invested in points of view than others. So, but it's still up to us, no matter how invested we are in the points of view. It's important to just relax and let the points of view be as they are, including the point of view of an individual identity. If we spend our whole life trying to change the personal identity and make it into a better personal identity, then we actually spend all our life toying around with something that really has no substance or characteristics in its own right. So if we're trying to improve our conduct or behavior, the way we think or our emotions, we're dealing with a point of view called a personal identity that does not exist in its own right. It has no independent existence. And thus we spend our whole life with our energy drained by assuming that everything is something when it really cannot be found to exist in its own right. So another way of looking at this is to say that all points of view that appear are like a mirage. A mirage is a vivid appearance, but when examined, it's a vivid appearance of emptiness. It has no existence in its own right. And this is true not only for a mirage, but for all points of view, including a mirage. Other illustrations would be a hologram. A hologram is an incredible projection of something that looks as though it's very real. Say it's a cafe in Paris, and it's filled with people from all over the globe, and one is having a latte, and the other's having a cappuccino, and maybe the other's even having a frappuccino. There are all of these different kinds of coffee drinks, caramel macchiato, or whatever your favorite is. See, the points of view are endless, but no matter how real all these things in the hologram look, and no matter how many different languages are being spoken, all that's really there is space. It's comprised entirely of space. It's never been made into anything other than space. It's a vivid appearance of emptiness. So all the visual appearances and all the sounds are self-appearances and self-sounds of awareness. They aren't anything other than that. Anything at all that we sense with any of our senses, whether it's seeing or smelling or hearing or tasting or touching, but we only know those to be due to awareness. Without awareness, we wouldn't have the sensation of sight. we wouldn't have the sensation of hearing. We wouldn't have the sensation of smelling. There would be no sensation of tasting and no sensation of touching. So it's awareness that is the entire nature or essence of all of these senses, no matter what they are. The sensations would not be without awareness. So in this simple way, we can show ourselves that awareness isn't something looking at the sensation. The sensation itself is awareness. Awareness, forever empty awareness, is always blended with any sensation. And so too with anything we think or any emotion we have. Those are only due to awareness, and awareness is the entire basic space of that thought or emotion or sensation. Without awareness, none of those things would be known to be. All that appears, all appearances, all points of view are the dynamic energy of awareness and nothing else. They're the pure dynamic energy of awareness and nothing else. And just like the color blue can't be separated out from the sky, so too points of view cannot be separated out from awareness. Now we can have a bit of an understanding of this mentally, but that won't take us to awareness. We can't really understand awareness just through the mental process. We only get to know awareness. We only gain familiarity with our own awareness as the basis of everything by simply relaxing the hold on points of view, by just resting as awareness for short moments, repeated many times until it becomes automatic. This is the same process by which we learn to hold the points of view. People told us points of view were real. They said, you're a somebody, you're an I, your name is Gabriel, and you're a boy, and I'm your mother and father, and you live in Germany or wherever you were born. And so all of these points of view came to be associated with someone called Gabriel. And so for short moments, repeated many times, you identified with this Gabriel creature and identity. It didn't come all at once. Oh, yes, I indeed am Gabriel, and I am a boy. I will grow into a man. No, this came in short moments, repeated many times. And so you gain familiarity with the identity of Gabriel. And in the same very natural, organic way, there's the gaining of familiarity with awareness at the basis of everything. Because we have the habit of dualist perception. It's very tempting to analyze and examine everything that's going on in dualist terms when we're gaining familiarity with awareness. That's called elaboration or description of what is appearing, but don't fatigue yourself in such a way. What the descriptions that appear, those two are points of view. So just rest as awareness and know that whatever the descriptions are, those are just points of view too. If you, in retrospect, are looking back at something and saying, oh, I wasn't there, then that's just an elaboration of timeless awareness that's now been divided into a past time when you were located somewhere and you now have a description of what may have been going on there. Not to just rest, to relax and allow awareness as the basis of everything means to move out of self-concern and a life focused on self. That's the whole world of point of view, to the openness and spaciousness of all-encompassing wisdom awareness that includes everything. So it includes the personal identity and it includes everything else. However, it also knows very clearly that none of this that appears has an independent nature of its own. So it never falls to or holds to anything. It doesn't hold to the personal identity as existing, and it doesn't hold to the personal identity as not existing. It's very clear always and forever in empty awareness that there's no need to hold to anything, that anything is held to is an attempt to describe awareness according to certain definitions or according to some kind of substance it has or characteristic it has. It's only in knowing just two simple things. One, that nothing that appears has an independent nature. And two, that to relax, just relax. Nothing is an independent nature. And this isn't the same thing as nihilism. Nihilism is holding to nothingness. Nothingness is a philosophy that says that everything comes to nothing and it leads to nothing. But when we rest as all-encompassing awareness, we find something much different than that when we don't hold to either that things exist or they don't exist, to either of those points of view. What we find is all-encompassing wisdom. And so we've moved away and gradually opened up from the self-concern of a personal identity to all-encompassing, stainless awareness that is inclusive of everything. And what is naturally present in that all-encompassing expanse is wisdom, love, and energy. That's all that can be said to be wisdom, love, and energy. So we're either taking everything, including ourselves, to be someone with an independent nature, or we're relaxing as awareness, which is synonymous with wisdom, love, and energy. In simple human terms, and as far as the problems facing ourselves as individuals or the problems facing the world, we have really taken point of view and the whole belief system, primitive belief system of points of view. We've taken it to the limit in terms of trying to see how that can solve our own problems as individual human beings or the problems of the world as a whole. And what we're finding is that the way we've been thinking isn't able to solve the big problems facing the world, and it isn't able to solve the problems within ourselves.